ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, and it is a good day to be a sports fan. Hello, upstate South Carolina. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. The Gamecocks win. The Tiger Men's win. The Panthers don't, but that's not the point. We're focusing on the positive here, ladies and gentlemen. We're focusing on the good because that's how you get through a Monday. That's how you get through a Monday. I am Rob Brown. How do you do, America? It is tremendous to be with you. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining us. I say us because directly across from me on the other side of the glass, both literally and metaphorically, the great one, the pinnacle of professionalism, the content cash cow, the alpha and the omega of ESPN Upstate, hashtag Dad Kicks, Colonel Grudge, Lonzo in charge of the broadcast. What up, fella?
Oh, I know we were saying hello to the Upstate and everything. I didn't know we were saying hello to America. So what's up, America?
I mean, we are. In fact, we should say to the world because
worldwide, yo.
I know for a fact that we are international, as I have a couple of weeks ago got an email. From a guy who listens to us, is actually a listener of mine from back in my days broadcasting in the great sunshine state of Florida, who is stationed in Germany, in Deutschland, and he listens to us on the Odyssey app. He's an MP at a base, I forgot, Dusseldorf, I think. Anyway, he's based at a.
If not, you can't. Dusseldorf is a fun thing to just say.
It's just a good word. It's just a good word. Anyway, he listens to us on the Odyssey app over in Deutschland, and so that makes us, by definition, Lonzo, international. We are the internationally renowned Rob Brown Show here on ESPN Upstate, broadcasting to a country not so near you.
You know, when I said worldwide, Rob made a symbol. And if you want to know what that symbol is, you know how you could, without hearing it, you could see it on the Facebook page, ESPN Upstate. Check that out.
Correct. Go to Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate. Go to Twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show or Twitter.com/ESPN Upstate or Twitter.com/Lonzo Onward. You can go at us on the YouTube channel, too. If you got a smart TV with a YouTube app on it, go to it, search The Rob Brown Show, subscribe to my channel, and we broadcast every show live there as well. You can not just listen to the show, you can watch the show, baby, as Lonzo and I come to you live every day. Texter says, ESPN Rob, I'm just going to assume you will be hosting until 7 p.m. all week. I'm sure Mark won't be showing up to work because of how embarrassed he is, end quote.
You know,
Lonzo busted out the garnet and black today. He really did. He's all Gamecocked out today. As the South, what a freaking show up by the Gamecocks. Beamer's boys came ready to freaking play, huh? What a stud performance by South Carolina, who laid it the blank down on the Gators. By the way, multiple firings coming out of the Gator Athletic Department today as a result of that beatdown. The next era in Florida football is probably closer than we thought, as Dan Mullen's boys come into Willie B and go home with their gator tails tucked between their legs. A 40-17 demolition job by the Gamecocks, who had 30 on the board at halftime to the Gators 10, stacked another 10 up in the third quarter. A late Florida touchdown made it a little more respectful. Jason Brown, 14 of 24 for $175 and 2 touchdowns on the day as well. Kevin Harris, 128 yards on 16 carries. That is 8 yards per carry for the stud.
I just want to say, you know, on Friday, who's Jason Brown? I hope that
the dude, again, 14 to 24. $175, 2 touchdowns. Kevin Harris, 16 totes, $128. Zaquandre Wright, 13 carries for 111 yards. And just for funsies, let's tag Marshawn Lloyd, 7 carries for 46 yards. Lonzo, 3 running backs with a yards per carry of over 6.5 yards on the day. Had multiple huge gainers for the Gamecocks. Josh Van, 7 snags for $111. Nick Moose had 4 for 38 as well. Good day for the Gamecocks. That I don't know about y'all, and we're going to talk about this more in depth as we roll on. But Lonzo, if you had lost any optimism about the Shane Beamer era there in Columbia, that put a little spark back into it, didn't it? That put a little fire back under the belly. The boys look good, and we're going to get to that and more. Well, let's go ahead and start it. Why not?
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
You guys hear?
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
So let's break down the 3 things you have to know before you go start talking sports with your friends, family, coworker, or the dog, whoever you spend your lunch break with. When you gather around the lunch table, this will be the scuttlebutt. We start with item number 1. Your NASCAR Cup championship has been handed out. Kyle Larson, a year and a half ago, right around the beginning of the pandemic, we thought Kyle Larson's NASCAR career may have been over. He was exiled from the top level of stock car racing, lost a lot of his sponsors and his job over the use of a racial slur while playing video games. And there was doubt whether or not the kid would even return to NASCAR, but he did. And his 2021 season ended with a championship on Sunday. In the NASCAR Cup Series season finale at Phoenix, Larson earned the lead thanks to a quick final pit stop, then was able to hold off Martin Truex Jr. to earn his 10th win of the season and his first NASCAR Cup Series championship. Truex finished second, as well as second in the championship for Denny Hamlin third, Chase Elliott in 5th. So your championship race unofficial results: Larson, your winner in the 1 spot, Martin Truex Jr. 2, Denny Hamlin 3rd in the number 11 car. Ryan Blaney would finish 12th in the race, 4th overall in the standings. Chase Elliott, number 5, Eric Amarola 6, Kyle Busch finished 7th, 8th, Kevin Harvick 9th, Christopher Bell and Brad Keselowski rounding out your top 10. There was a caution late in the race while making a green flag pit stop that earned Truex Jr. the lead. It looked as though Larson's championship hopes were gone as he ran 4th, well behind Truex over the next to last run. But a caution came out by a mechanical failure on the car of David Starr. A great, championship winning pit stop by Larson's crew, and by way of having the number 1 pit stall, allowed him to jump from 4th to 1st, take the lead on pit road, despite being pressured by Truex through the final 4 laps. When it came down to it, Larson was just too fast to be caught, able to hang on and score the victory, putting the finishing touch on one of the most dominant NASCAR seasons in recent memory. Larson told NBC Sports, quote, "There were so many points in this race where I did not think that we were going to win. And without my pit crew on that last stop, we would not be standing right here. They are the true winners of this race. They are the true champions. I'm just blessed to be part of this group. Every single person, man and woman at Hendrick Motorsports. This win is for all of us and every one of you. This is unbelievable. I'm speechless." Larson finishes his championship run with 10 wins, 20 top 5 finishes, 26 top 10 finishes, and how about this? Maybe the most impressive stat of all, a NASCAR record, 2,581 laps led. His finest stretch came over the final 5 races of the year. He won 4 out of 5 races en route to a Cup Series title. And Kyle Larson, the Redemption Tour, earns him a NASCAR Cup championship. Item number 2, we're going to get heavy into this later in the show because this Feels like it almost swept under the radar just a little bit. On Monday, the NCAA has set the stage for what might be a dramatic restructuring of college sports that will give a little more power to each of its 3 divisions to outright govern themselves. The nation's biggest and most influential governing body in college athletics, according to ESPN, released a draft of an 18.5-page constitution cut down from 43 pages initially of a new constitution that would govern the governing body. Most importantly, in the rewritten constitution, which focuses more on the NCAA's broader goals of athlete welfare than the previous version, it would provide Division I, the highest level of college sports that includes major college football and the 351 schools eligible for the men's basketball tournament, the autonomy to reshape everything from how revenue is shared to how rules are made and enforced. West Virginia Athletic Director Shane Lyons, who is the chairman of the Division I Council and a member of the Constitution Committee, told the AP, quote, "Once we got into this, we really found out that many of the issues were at the Division I level. The goal of the new Constitution is to have changes in place in less than a year." Jack DiGioia, pronounce his name for me, Lonzo. DiGioia. DiGioia? DeGoya. So, Jack DeGoya, chairman of the NCAA Board of Governors and the president of Georgetown.
Doesn't sound far-fetched, does it?
Jack DeGioia?
Why can't it have a G sound? You just don't want it to be DeGoya?
DeGioia does have. It's just a soft G.
Well, I'm going
Like
with
those who... GIF. Say GIF. It's still a G. It's just the wrong one.
That's a argument from another lifetime.
It's a GIF. Anyway, said, quote, "A new constitution will provide the divisions the flexibility they need to act." The proposed new constitution now goes to the more than 1,200 member schools for feedback after next week's scheduled special constitutional convention and could be amended before it is put to the full membership for a vote next January. The new constitution would shrink the NCAA's highest governing body, the Board of Governors, from 21 members down to 9, as well as change its duties. Lyons said, according to ESPN, quote, "The question is going to be asked, what is the new role and responsibilities of the Board of Governors? There's still all 3 divisions, but their priorities and what they would be doing would just be those very, very high-level issues of the association, as opposed to some of the things they have been getting involved with right now," end quote. Mark Emmert, the head of the NCAA, called the convention in August, not long after the Supreme Court hammered the NCAA in a ruling that left the association vulnerable to further legal challenges. It became apparent, according to ESPN, that a new constitution was merely the first phase of transforming the NCAA in a way that de-emphasizes the association and gives more power back to the schools and conferences. The next phase figures to be more contentious, at least at the highest level of college sports. Southeastern Conference Commissioner Greg Sankey, Ohio University Athletic Director Julie Cromer will lead the Division I Transformation Committee, which has already begun exploring ways to restructure. Lyons said, quote, "There's a huge gap in Division I with schools roughly with $175 million budgets and schools with $4 million budgets. A lot of times we've tried to legislate from an equality standpoint. Is there possibly a new division? Is there a Division IV? Do some schools break away and make a Division IV? And what is the membership requirements?" He added, quote, "So those are the things we're really trying to have to get to the granular spot. And some of those things are going to be very difficult conversations to have." We'll talk about that later on in the show in more depth. Finally, our Monday Palmetto State football recap. We start with a big come-from-behind victory for the Clemson Tigers on the road at Louisville. Malik Cunningham, 12 of 20 for 174 yards, but the money was on the ground for Malik Cunningham, 22 carries for 134 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Jalen Mitchell would add 38 on 12 and pop one into the end zone as well. 3 rushing touchdowns for Louisville with a field goal to boot. None through the air though. DJ Uiagalelei, 18 of 30, 220 in the air and a pair of touchdowns. Although I'm going to tell you, and this is where Rob gets the rap from being the bad guy, being the main guy, being the upsetting guy. I wasn't all that I wasn't that all impressed in the performance because that 220 probably should have been about 320. But there were multiple laser shots fired by DJ Uiagalelei over the top of the head of receivers. But 18 of 30, 220 yards, a pair of touchdowns, not a bad day. At some point, you guys are going to realize that Will Shipley is the future for this program. All right. The run game and Will Shipley is the future in this game. 14 yards, 47 carries, but was hardly touched in the first half of the game. It was late in the game before Shipley was really started to be worked into the game plan. 6 grabs, 104 yards and a touchdown for Bo Collins, 5 for 58 from Justin Ross, 2 for 34 from Joseph Nagata, and it was a big day through the air for the wide receivers. Will Shipley also had a pair of returns, including a 75-yard return that would set up Clemson, though they would not walk away with points on the ensuing drive. They played the field position game, and Louisville had to put a clutch drive together from late, deep inside their own territory because of the return. Will Shipley was invaluable in that game as Clemson knocks off Louisville 30-24. We'll talk more about that coming up later on. We mentioned Gamecocks, big win at home. Willie B, by the way, to the fans, to the Gamecock fans that have been insinuating that they are starting a GoFundMe to send Rob Brown to all future Gamecock games, as I am now 1-0 at Willie B with a huge victory over the Gators. I want you to know from the bottom of my heart, I accept, and I have Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. You can send it to any one of those that you want. I'll go to Missouri this weekend. Why not? What do you say about a red eye out to Mizzou, Lonzo? Head out to the other SEC-based Columbia for another dub.
I think you absolutely should do it. I would join you, but I wasn't there for the victory, so I wouldn't want to spoil
the magic.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. So obviously, it's just you.
Understandable.
Or maybe some of the people that you were with also.
Understandable. And finally, in the Palmetto State recap, not a great day for the Panthers, and the Boo Birds were out in force at the bank as the Patriots wiped the floor with the Carolina Panthers 24-6. Mac Jones, 12 of 18, 139, a touchdown and a pick to go along. Of course, Stephon Gilmore, the former Patriot, had the pick, but it just wasn't enough. Sam Darnold, 16 of 33, $172, and 3 interceptions on the day. Man. I don't know. I don't know what to say. There's a part of me that says, as I said on the Carolina Kickoff Show on Sunday morning, live from Wings Etc. in Boiling Springs, I'm treating Sam Darnold as if he is a rookie. I'm giving him rookie leniency. I'm giving him rookie time to make mistakes, etc. But he looked atrocious in this game.
Let me give you a preview of what you're going to hear in, I don't know, about 3 hours from now. The Panthers could have had Justin Fields. And you know what? I could have had Justin Fields, and no, you picked this. Everything.
Let's keep him up. Let's keep in mind the Panthers could have had Justin Fields when they got Sam Darnold is a solid maybe, because there's no way to ensure that the Panthers could have traded high enough to
What-
not still have a team jump ahead of them.
What other quarterbacks would have been available at the time?
None that were Justin Fields.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Do you remember what other quarterbacks were available at that point, and if any of them are in the league right now? Because I would guarantee if they are, they're having a better year than what Sam Darnold is.
The 2021 NFL draft, at the time that the Panthers picked up Sam Darnold, there was a lot of flux. We did not know Justin Fields was going to fall down to, where was it, number 11, right? The Panthers sitting at 8 were, at the time, remember, not sure that Justin Fields was going to be available.
What draft picks did they give away for Sam Darnold? It wasn't
their first. Theoretically, they could have had Darnold and still drafted Justin Fields. But that's a lot of money wrapped up into one position with no guarantee you were going to be able to get rid of one before the season started. I'm not saying Carolina handled it the right way. I'm saying you don't know for a fact at the time they handled it the wrong way, because we don't know how that whole thing plays out if the Panthers do move around. That being said,
just put Christian McCaffrey at quarterback. Let's go.
There are 14 runs for 52 yards, average less than 4 a carry. Also had 4 snags for 54 yards. Look, I said he could not touch the ball more than 20 times in this game. But the other thing I said was Darnold needed to throw the ball no more than 20 times in this game. In fact, went so far on the Carolina Kickoff Show on Sunday morning as to say that either one of these quarterbacks, whether it was Darnold or Jones, if either one of them was able to throw the ball, I think I said 19 times or fewer, maybe 20 times or fewer, that team won. Mac Jones, 12 of 18. Sam Darnold, 16 of 33.
What does Belichick do? He takes away your best weapon. Your best weapon is McCaffrey. And what he's saying is, Sam Darnold, you're not their best weapon.
Oh, of course not. We know
you
that.
are a detriment.
In fairness, Christian McCaffrey would be a bigger weapon on any of 26 other teams in the league, right? All right, let's take a break. When we come back, got the first Willie B experience on Saturday. I did Clemson last week. I did Carolina this week. I'll talk about both, compare and contrast, and break down that game when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. All right, we're back. Hello, stream.
This report is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. At Napa, when it comes to serving you, their motor never quits.
The lady friend has joined us in the stream today. How about that?
Yeah, I don't recall seeing her in there before.
I think she was in right when we started. Water. DeJoya. I've been informed by Adam, our buddy Adam, and a couple of other texters that it's DeJoya, not the hard G.
How they know?
I'm assuming they've heard his name before.
Okay.
DeJoya is the name. So I got the first Willie B experience on Saturday. And I got to tell you, Lonzo, I was impressed, son. Those folks are into their Gamecocks. Like, it was a party, man. And that's not to say Clemson wasn't, because they were there for that game too. The only complaint that I had about the game on Saturday night, Zoe, the only complaint I had on Saturday night was the fact that the attendance was not great. There were large sections of bleachers that were unoccupied.
I saw someone, I'm not going to be specific, dogging the attendance while their team was being beaten. And
He had a point. He's not wrong.
Yeah, but
I don't rush to the defense.
Yeah, but I think there are times that some things you leave alone, like when your team is getting completely beat down on the field. You just leave that stuff alone. That's it. I would feel worse. I don't know. That's if you're in that sort of thing, I guess.
The lady friend said it was because it was minus 37 degrees. If you don't show up to that game when your team has a chance to knock off the Gators because it's chilly outside.
All right. Last I checked, you were coming on here to be positive.
I was. Because the folks that did turn out, look, I going into that game, I told her the lady friend is a Gamecock, and we went to the game together. And I told her going in that, you get one chance to make a first impression. And I was jacked to see the response for the first time to Ric Flair's theme song. When Ric Flair's music hit, I wanted to see the pop. Lonzo, it popped. It was no joke, man.
Oh, it definitely pops.
It popped.
Yes.
It was no joke.
Equal to a Ric Flair pop back in the day.
It was loud. It was impressive. Like I said, the one complaint I had was that it was not a well-attended game. I'd have thought, first-year head coach, team trying to find something, going up against the 4-4 Florida team, which would be, I think, the biggest win for the Gamecocks under Shane Beamer thus far. I'd have thought Willoughby was going to be packed to the rafters. It was not. However, I don't know, Zoe, I'd say 50K, 52K in attendance. It wasn't empty by any stretch. I have seen some Tallahassees. I have seen some Ben Hill Griffins in the midst of struggles have way fewer people in attendance for a game like that than Willie B did. It's not the worst thing in the world, but
I guess we're back. There was a time like this time a year ago, we would have loved to have just about anybody in the stands. Now the stands aren't full. We're back. It's back to being okay of complaining that the stands aren't full.
I mean, look, I wasn't here during the Muschamp era. So
I'm talking about during COVID, man. I'm talking about
during the Rona. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, not like it's gone away. It's still there. But my point is, we would have loved to had a third of that amount of people in stadium.
No doubt. But for that spot, for that game, for that opponent, I'd have liked to have seen it packed out. Yeah, it was cold, but it wasn't that cold.
So now I'm not going to accuse you of doing this, but I'm sure someone else will. The next time that there is a home game for Carolina, if it's full,
You mean Auburn?
if it's full, then they will be called bandwagoners.
Hey, call them whatever you want. I'll tell you this. Gamecock fans, Auburn's beatable. All right, you're going to be the underdog in that game. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now. You're going to be the underdog in that game. But Auburn's beatable. If that Gamecock team shows up, not only is Auburn beatable, if the team that shows up on Saturday night against Florida shows up against Auburn, they're beatable. And that makes this not a statement that I got to go on a thin limb to say. If that Gamecock team and 77,000 strong pack out will it be on Thanksgiving weekend, Lonzo? Clemson's beatable. Like very. If that Gamecock team shows up, that team is very beatable. P1 Keegan's an Auburn fan. He said, blocked, unfollowed. I'm an offsider now.
Which is exactly, that's what I was laughing about. Yeah.
Look, that was hands down the best performance that I have seen out of South Carolina this year. And that's an obvious statement, right? I'm not going on a thin limb for that one either. If the biggest complaint I had, here's what I'll say, Zoe. And this is a gold star for the football program. It's a night game. It's chilly. You're up against a 4-4 team in Florida that has shown, a la the Alabama game, that they can be a pretty good team. If the biggest complaint that I have about the performance of Shane Beamer's Gamecocks was that a few sections were unpopulated, that's a pretty good problem to have.
All right. According to a popular belief somewhere else, a lot of people are arrested and kicked out of these games. Did you witness?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. So nothing out of the ordinary. No. So it's okay to go to a Gamecock game, contrary to popular, but whatever that is, that you can't go to a game because of how strict they are there and everything. So you're okay.
I had a great time. Now,
because Rob Brown does not go anywhere and be quiet.
No, I'm incapable of doing so. Ask anybody who's ever been outside with me.
Yeah, no. If you're going covert, not the guy to call.
Not the guy to call. I'd make a terrible spy. I was impressed. Now, I have heard that South Carolina fans can be a little aggressive toward visitors. The only mark I saw at any point was after the game was over, walking back to the car. There was I don't know, 3 or 4 Gator fans walking down the side of the road back towards where we were parked. We were parked just outside the east side of the stadium, and a car or a golf cart coming by, packed out with Carolina fans, started yelling blank the Gators at the 3 Gator fans. Hey, my thing has always been, dude, you just beat them, let them go. You know what I mean? Like you can have a party without that. But that's the worst I saw. And I've been to Baton Rouge. I've heard worse. All right. If the only complaint I had about that game was that, the attendance marks weren't there, that's a pretty good problem to have. Pretty good spot to be in. Texter said, if you could leave at halftime and come back in like Clemson, it would help the Shame Croc Nation. Yeah, I wonder that. I didn't know that you could leave Death Valley for halftime and come back in, because at halftime, when I was now, in fairness, in our compare and contrast here.
So they leave at halftime and go to their spot and get a little.
Back a couple of whiskeys, come back in.
Good for you, Alki.
I feel judged a little.
I wasn't talking to you
I know,
specifically.
but
Okay, that's fine. But they know who they are.
I was curious at the Clemson game.
Oh, yeah.
We don't call that getting drunk. We call it getting warm. It's getting warmed up.
Whatever.
One of the many magical. of the liquid elixir that is Jameson's is that you're not as cold afterwards. That's a true story. Yeah, I was a little shocked at the press box at Death Valley at halftime. I walked out of the press box out to kind of the outside area and just to catch some fresh air. And I saw a ton of people leaving. And I'm like, guys, you're winning. Where the hell are you going? Before somebody informed me that you can go out and come back in on the same ticket, which can't do it like any other stadium. Texter said, what did you think of Sandstorm? I believe the kids say Lonzo. And Keegan taught me this one. Dude, it was dope. It was dope.
That sounds kind of 90s, but you know.
It's very 90s, but it's been probably all the things from the 90s are cool again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like the girls are wearing high-waisted mom jeans again, like Kelly Kapowski used to do.
Yeah, I don't understand that. But why was that ever in?
The 90s are back.
Okay.
So the first time they dropped Sandstorm, like I knew it was coming and I was looking forward to it. The Gamecocks gave out rally towels and it was kind of cool. I'm not a rally towel guy, right? Like I like clap, make noise. Don't just spin a towel. But they do like a remix of Sandstorm where in the middle there's like a and they would throw the towels up and beat with a song. So it would just be and then the white explode. Oh, it was cool. It was cool. Full marks to the Gamecock Nation for putting on a show. All right. Clemson was good. And their fans were into it, no doubt about it. But the South Carolina fans, it was something else. It was something else. Howard's Rock sounds like my dad's Spotify playlist. We were walking back to the car. So that's from the lady friend. We're walking back to the car.
It's the funniest thing I've ever heard from her.
She's pretty funny. Back to the car, and there was a group of Gamecock fans ahead of us, like college kids, and they were talking about back and forth about the game. And one of the young girls in the thing, she's like out loud, and I'm not like eavesdropping the conversation, but like they're just talking loudly outside a football game. She's like, "Yeah, Howard's Rock sounds like my dad's Spotify playlist," and I lost it. Such a good line. All right, let's take a break. I'll keep going on this when we come back because I do have one more complaint to make about that, and this is going to be a universal complaint, not just about South Carolina, but a universal complaint, and I've seen it in a few other stadiums too. Tell you about it when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. I'm struggling today. It's Monday. Get off me, dog. You watch this kid. Watch this play. So we're going jumbo formation. This is a little league game. Jumbo formation. We just do a little end around sweep to the running back. Who gets the outside? Stiff arm number one. You get a stiff arm. 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 I got to tell you that the running back class of 2037 looks stout with this kid.
Yeah, the problem is, watching kids that age, sometimes that kid will stay the same size.
Yeah, I doubt you're going to see this level of stiff arm in high school, but this is a good start.
Oh, I've already seen it. That's
linebacker comes through. He gets stiff arm. Defensive end on a good pursuit angle, by the way. Good pursuit angle from the defensive end. Flattened out, comes down the line of scrimmage, makes sure that he stays angled out ahead. He catches a stiff arm. Another linebacker from the backside. Again, good pursuit angle. He's right up on the kid. He gets outrun. This poor safety, number 2. Poor safety doesn't stand a chance. Just gets absolutely demolished. Runs by the last linebacker. Hands him a stiff arm. Then the backside linebacker gets just stiff arms for everybody. Nobody had a chance.
That's where you show this film to your kids, and then you teach them how to tackle around the knees and ankles. Instead of going, let's put my head right where he can crush it. No, thank you.
The problem is because of the outside speed, right? You can't go. This kid maybe can go low, but he doesn't know the barrage of stiff arms that's about to be handed out, right?
It's also a good opportunity to teach angles of pursuit and how you get out in front of it and get that angle that's going to intercept them, and you can at least get them out of bounds.
Honestly, I'm not even mad at the defense here. This is just,
yeah.
That kid didn't see it coming. He had no idea what was about to happen. And that's a violent stiff arm. The linebacker here, he said, look, so this kid, the running back's 2-3 yards behind the white line. That's a good pursuit angle from the defensive end or linebacker, whatever position. That's a good pursuit angle. He gets there, but he catches the stiff arm, right? Now, you can argue maybe he goes for the ankles here, right? Like dive down, but it's a good pursuit angle and it's a good opportunity there. It's not bad. Then look at the angle of the kid coming in behind him. He is running at the camera. That's another good pursuit angle. He's just not fast enough. Right?
Also, yes.
Yeah, one, which is the result. Comes around the corner. Number 2 here. Look, his helmet is at the kid's shoulder pads. This guy is this is classic second level tackling versus a bowling ball running back. He's got no chance. He has to dive there, right? Like he's got to go legs. He gets ripped up. These other 2 kids, again, good pursuit angle, right? Like shoulders are all the way towards the end zone. They got good angles on the kid. That one just gets outrun. And then that last kid on the outside, he's got a good angle. He's got to go low. And he just takes one off the
The
drop.
one that you said we just got outrun, if you watch this hesitation, he got scared. He got scared. Yeah.
So I'm going to try to drag him down from behind. No, you're not, son.
Hosts named the best sports talk show in South Carolina.
All right, 1%ers, I got to talk to you. I've been accused of being one many times. I'd like to submit this as Exhibit A, why I am not a 1%er. So, we roll up to the game on Saturday, and we decide to walk over to the Gamecock Walk, where the team comes from the facility into the stadium. And as we're standing there, the lady friend says, "Oh man, I forgot to wear my big brim hat." You've seen the big like canvas felt hats that the girls are wearing now, because everything from the 90s back, including dressing like Blossom. And I look around, and there's a young lady dressed in like the standard basic fall outfit, you know, the brown boots, the jeans, the khaki vest over a white long sleeve shirt. And she's got a big garnet hat on, and she's with a dude. She's with a dude who is in a garnet blazer, like affliction. You know what I mean when I say like affliction jeans? Like they have the rhinestones and the and you can tell like
what makes them is Affliction a brand name or is it a style?
Affliction's the brand name that all the like UFC dudes wear with like the really ornate and stuff. But a lot of dudes wear that stuff because they want to look tough, not because they are. Anyway, we go up to the game. We're in our seats out on the field, and our seats, because maybe I'm a little 1%ery, have access to the indoor. It's called the Horseshoe Club. It's an indoor section. We go in before the game to get a little liquid encouragement and a little foodie food, a little snacky snack before the game starts. And sitting at a table inside this club are Blazer Dude and Hat Girl. I'm like, all right, man, it's a little chilly out there. The teams aren't on the field. That's fine, whatever. We go back out to the stadium. Gets to be middle of the second quarter. Got a timeout. Little dude's got his 3.5-minute marker. I'm like, let me run back in, refill the cup, grab some popcorn. I'll come back out. Go in. They're still at the table. Halftime. I'm like, all right, watch the band tribute. We got 4 or 5 minutes for the second half. Go back in, refill the cup, grab some nachos. They're still at the table. Third quarter. Go back in. Got to use the restroom. Grab another drink. Go back in. Still at the table. These people they bought Lonzo, tickets that run you about $1.25 to get into the game, went into the club, never actually came out to watch the game on the field. Spent the entire game in the inside private club watching the game on TV, never came out to the stadium to actually watch the game. If you are going to do that, give your tickets to an actual fan. If you are going to be inside, not yelling, not making noise, not influencing the game to the best of your ability, if you're going to be inside, drinking and eating in the club and watching the game on TV, why don't you just stay home and watch the game on TV?
You know, that's the difference between Clemson and Carolina. In Clemson, they go out to their RV to do that. In Carolina, they go into the club.
No, but it's not like a club.
But it's the same thing.
Right?
Are you sure?
No. No. I'm just saying, dude, don't do that. Like, if you're just going to go in and drink inside and watch the game on TV, just stay home. Right? Just stay home. Jimmy is on the line. Jimmy, welcome to the show. Great to have you back, bud. Appreciate it.
Hey, guys. Before I comment on the game, I want to know, is Mark called in sick today?
Not that I'm aware of yet. I know I got to suspect Mark is going to have some very hot takes for the Gators this afternoon.
Yeah, he's going to probably do the Will Muschamp thing on Dan Mullen.
Yeah. I assume you are correct.
Yeah.
I assume you are correct.
All right, so I just wanted to comment. When I called into y'all last week, I said a couple of things that need to happen. This running game needed to be established, and therefore we needed to block for our running backs. We had really good running backs. I had no idea that was going to be so successful against Florida. I'm very happy it was. And then I think I told you Jason Brown was my pick from the spring game to be the starting quarterback. And he only had 175 yards, but it's not the 175 yards that made the difference to our offense. Is the way he avoided sacks. He made big plays when he did so. The kid played fantastic. So I had no idea, and nobody else had any idea, that South Carolina was going to win 40-17. And what a bye week. I'd like to know what Beamer did during that bye week.
I got to tell you, man. And Jimmy, appreciate it, buddy. We're up on the break. I appreciate you checking in. Jimmy called that game spot on. I'll give him the credit. Call that game spot freaking on. Said you got to run the ball, you got to block. What did Carolina do? Their offensive line whipped the Gators, and they ran the hell out of the football. They did not. They needed Jason Brown to make 2 or 3 high-pressure throws. They just let him get comfortable, let him get into a routine. He found that rhythm, and they never looked back. Jimmy called that game spot on. That's exactly what happened. Of course, that's because Shane Beamer's a big fan of the show. Listens every week. He heard the game plan, and it worked to perfection. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate. And we're back.
We actively manage client portfolios based on our forward-looking views of the market. In times like these, we understand that clients want proactive communication and guidance.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we get to know our clients so we can tailor their portfolios to their specific goals and needs. We even offer resources on Social Security, Medicare, tax efficiency, and more. Our primary goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions, right?
No, we don't sell commission products. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for a financial advisor. It means we're there for our clients and always put their interests first.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, our fees are transparent, structured so we do better when our
You have any
clients do better.
guests?
Visit FisherInvestments.com.
Monday is, yes, Corey Diaz, who I saw Saturday, actually. 1:30, 1:20.
Do you need a new roof or think you do? I'd like to talk to you. My name is Paul Campbell, and I've been fixing and replacing roofs in the upstate for over 15 years. If you have questions about the condition of your roof or possible storm damage, call me and I will personally come out and check your roof and give you an honest assessment and a fair price. Call me today at 864-346-3121. That's 864-346-3121. Or find me at rooferpaul.com. That's rooferpaul.com. Son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pop.
What's so new?
Just, I can't explain it.
When your kid can't find the language, find the lyrics, start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Counseling and the Ledgers.
It's not magic that we're delivering one billion packages to home across the country. It's the United States Postal Service. And we don't need a team of vendors because we've added more. And while we don't come down the chain, we can pick up purchase for your meals. So making more holiday deliveries to homes in the U.S. than anyone else seems like magic means we're doing our job. Share the magic at USPS.com/helpers.
Fire's exercise can be a great vacation of a lifetime. Staff needs to double before the good deal becomes a nightmare. Indeed can help them find great people fast. Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes and Indeed match your sponsored job description.
Your motor never quits. From next day delivery to curbside pickup to all we want to do. Get the phone. That's Napa know-how. It's anytime.
Texas said there was a drunk kid double flipping the bird and cussing the Gators in front of women and children. He was one of the bad apples in the crowd. And Tex got cut off. But yeah, look, you're going to have that at every stadium, and it sucks. Those people are the ones that ruin it for everybody. But I got to tell you, overall, Willoughby was hopping. Willoughby was one of my favorite game day experiences. I've been to a lot of games. I got to tell you, the USC folks are top 5 game day experiences I've ever had. I mean, it was impressive. Now, we got to see if they bring that same energy when they take on Auburn in 2 weeks. That would be an enormous win for Shane Beamer if he can knock the Auburn Tigers off. We'll find out. Coming up next hour, Corey Diaz of the Greenville News, will join us to break down that game and more. And we'll get into the Clemson breakdown as well. Coming up in the next hour, the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Series season, it is over as Kyle Larson picks up the championship at Phoenix on Sunday. He is just barely able to hold off Martin Truex Jr. for the victory. Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott rounding out the top 5, while Eric Almirola, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Christopher Bell, and Brad Keselowski round out the top 10. Truex won the first stage, while Larson, he ends up winning the second. And now the offseason has arrived. Up next, speed weeks, and then, of course, the Daytona 500 coming up in February. final standings here. Kyle Larson in first place, followed by Martin Truex Jr., Jimmy Hamlin. For the score out today, lightning fast sports alert, so you never meant a thing. Sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley. Roger Goodell is such a clown. I'm shocked his nose isn't circular and red. All right, my entire career, have interviewed many people that I don't like or disagree with, but I'm respectful and I'm courteous, and I'll have the conversation with him. If we ever get the opportunity to interview Roger Goodell, he will get his intro music, Lonzo, and it will go. For this interview, Roger Goodell's ever done. Right? I'm on the phone right now. Watching. Tonight at 7:30, the NFL plays here on ESPN Upstate.
Only on ESPN.
Let's go to record and say there's 0 point talking about the National Football League on the air because nobody knows what in the world is happening anymore. What a weird freaking weekend in the NFL. But I got nothing. Yeah, I sat down yesterday. I'm watching that game. I'm trying to enjoy it. And what do I get? Just absolute anarchy and chaos out of the National Football League. I got a Green Bay, Kansas City game. Kansas City gets the dub in that one. Jordan Love, who was going to be the next Aaron Rodgers, wasn't.
You got to say you're more excited, more surprised by the lack of execution of Kansas City than you are lack of execution of Green Bay.
Well, I mean, listen, the Kansas City Chiefs had 19 turnovers coming to this game. It's not like I expected them to be perfect, but they figured it out down the stretch. Converted a couple of big 3rd and longs late in that game. Chiefs look better, but against the Packers team, that was really hindered. We'll see what happens with them. The Dallas Cowboys, who were one of only a couple of teams that I actually bet on yesterday, they go out and are getting beat so badly by the Cowboys or by the Broncos late in the game. The 5-4 Broncos, by the way, 4-4 yesterday. Getting beat so badly by the Broncos that Fox Sports cut away from their game. Menifee breaks in and goes, ladies and gentlemen, as this game is 30-0 Denver, we will go ahead and switch you over to a more competitive contest.
Oh, I love those when that happens, especially if it's your team. I would say that your classic Dallas fan, that at least the ones we have around here, are not surprised by that.
They're
not. To Dallas fans around here, the ones that I've dealt with personally and ones who have called the show, they never ever go, our team's back, our team's this. They're always poor mouthing the team, and they sit there and they're like, yeah, this is what I expected. This is what we really are.
Well,
I guarantee you there's some Dallas fans out there that absolutely did that.
Then was not meet you because I have met Cowboys fans.
I love
I need to meet them because I broadcasted in a lot of markets, and I have never met a humble Dallas Cowboys fan. Never. I have met Dallas Cowboys fans with teams that are 4-10 that are like, oh, we just need one part. We're flipping the corner. The league ain't ready for us. We them boys. And they were clearly not them boys. If I meet a humble Cowboys fan, it'll be the first time I've ever met a humble Dallas Cowboys fan. The Giants beat the Raiders 23-16. The Jags beat the Bills 9-6 in that game. What? The Titans without Derrick Henry smoke the Rams yesterday. The Falcons-Saints game was drunk just as a game. Saints down 18, score a TD with a buck and a half left, but then give up a 66-yard pass to Cordero Patterson that sets up a Falcons game-winning field goal. The NFL was just on drugs yesterday. The whole league.
I'm just guessing you didn't do too well. Didn't do too well with your picks. That's okay.
No, we'll do our picks result. Actually, my picks were because I did really well in college. So my picks were hovering around 500 yesterday, but it was no thanks to the National Football League at all. It just what in the world? My hoodie, the string came out of the. There we go. I'm better. All right, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Text with ESPN so we can read it on the air. Texter says, ESPN, to be Dan Mullen and getting paid $7.6 million a year to be a mediocre coach and lose to South Carolina year 4, and this is the product he's putting on the field? Thanks for the text, Mark. Glad to have you. Listening to the Rob Brown Show. That was bad. Look, all the credit in the world to the Gamecocks because, as we said, there were a couple of things they needed to do to win this game. Dictate the pace, run the ball, block well. And they absolutely did those 3 things.
This is another one of those cases, and this always bugs me, just as a sports fan in general, where you don't give the credit to the team that won. You go after the team that lost and looked really bad because they were supposed to win and they didn't. So, it's not that the Gamecocks played well. It's that Florida played really, really bad.
¿Por qué no los días? Why not both?
Well, it absolutely is both.
I think you're right. I think first and foremost, South Carolina played the best game they've played. Best game that they have played so far this year, right? Like, without a doubt. But if you watch that Florida team and didn't think that they were capable of that, I don't know, man. Like, how do you go out there and have a 2-point game? What was it, 31-29 against Alabama, and then turn around and look like you have no idea what's a football? How do we football? Said the Gators. By the way, the Gators, after that loss, have fired 2 coaches, including Todd Grantham, the defensive coordinator. He is out of a job today. Offensive line coach Todd Vesey is out of a job as well. Both of those confirmed by the Athletic Bruce Feldman earlier today. That's how bad you whipped him.
How does that fix your season, firing the offensive line coach?
It doesn't. It buys Dan Mullen time. Those 2 coaches fell on the sword for Dan Mullen today because that team. Here's what it was. In fact, I saw a tweet earlier, and I'll see if I can go back and find it because I didn't write it down, unfortunately, because I saw it while we were on the air. But somebody asked, was it Pat Dooley? I don't know, one of the Florida Gator folks down there, what's wrong with this Gator team? Like, what went wrong? And the response given was they thought they were way better than they are. They're not good, but they thought they were. And I don't think that that's an incorrect take. I think the Gators got cocky after the Alabama game. I think the Gators thought they had turned a corner. They had not turned. Forget turning a corner. They weren't on the same block. And they got punched in the face. But in order to get punched in the mouth, you got to have a team throw the punch. And the Gamecocks threw the hell out of a punch on Saturday night. What'd they do? They switched to Jason Brown, transfer redshirt senior. They said, we're not going to put you in a position where you have to go win the game for us. We're going to put you in a position where you just need to make the throws that we know you can make. They ran the ball. They ran the ball well. The blocking schemes were perfect. They never asked Jason Brown to play hero ball. And the couple of times, by the way, the couple of times the Gators got to the backfield, Jason Brown just rolled out and extended the play in a way that Zeb Nolan can't. That's not a shot at Nolan. That's a credit to Jason Brown. He saw where the plays were breaking down. The plays broke down, and he rolled out and away from them. He gets a ton of credit for that game. I was really impressed. Clemson gets a lot of credit, too, for what they did. Because Malik Cunningham is like Lamar Jackson Volume 2.0. Same situation. It's like every time, and we knew what Clemson's strength was, right? Clemson's strength is what? It's in the front four. It's what they did to FSU. They made Jordan Travis run for his damn life in that game. And it worked. Malik Cunningham's a different kind of G, man. Different kind of G. And Clemson just could not prevent him from shutting it down. He'd get outside, he'd extend plays, make good throws. But in a game where they got down early, the Clemson Tigers, in a game where they got down early, I'm going to give them this, Lonzo. A lot of teams would have quit in a spot where Clemson was. They did not. And they ended up taking a 2-score deficit and wiping it off the board. And late in that game, Louisville had an opportunity to make good things happen, and Clemson didn't let it. I know we're going to spend a lot of today, a lot of shows in South Carolina are going to spend a lot of today praising South Carolina for what they did on the field Saturday night, and they deserve it. But some of that time needs to be dedicated to what Clemson did. Because a bad football team in the spot that Clemson was in against Louisville on the road, down 2 scores, with Malik Cunningham running all over the field, Lonzo, a lot of teams would have shut it down. Clemson didn't. They kept bringing it.
I don't know that Clemson deserves the press because of the expectations coming into the season. They should not be struggling with Louisville. They should not be. They should be in the national championship conversation, and they're not. So, this is one of those cases where talk about them less, and they're probably fine with that.
I don't know, man. I think you hit to a spot where you had to adjust the reality and the expectations, right? I think you hit a spot where you got to go, okay. And I think Dabo tried to do that 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, Dabo said, look, we know we're not competing for a national championship this year. We know we're not competing for a national championship this year. So we got to reset our expectations. Now, I don't think anybody would have thought that they wouldn't be competing for an ACC championship. That possibility is still on the table, but Clemson will need a lot of help. There's like 2 or 3 different outcomes that have to fall a certain way this weekend for Clemson to still be able to win and go to the ACC title game. But all you can do is go game by game, right? All you can do is go game by game. And in that game against Louisville, Clemson made Louisville make adjustments late in that game they weren't comfortable with. Texter says, yes, be honest, Louisville coaches blanked the bed play calling on that goal line stand. Another texter says, Clemson loses that football game easily if Louisville's defense wasn't absolutely dog blank garbage. Maybe. But Louisville's defense was fine in the first half, and Clemson made the adjustments, which is not something I've seen out of that team a few times earlier this year. They realized a couple of things. I think they started off by realizing that the read option out of DJ was a go-to. They started utilizing that more in the second half. It worked. I think they started realizing that Louisville's defensive backs were getting caught out of position when they were running double routes at him. That long touchdown to, who was it? Justin Ross had the long touchdown, was set up by the fact that Clemson realized Louisville was playing a lot of cover 2. And one of the problems that you can bump into in cover 2 is if you run 2 deep routes, have the inside receiver run almost an inside cut, have the outside receiver either run a flag or a post towards the end zone. You force the safety to make a decision. Do I stay up over the top with the deeper route and let the guy inside come across the field and hope the other safety picks up coverage or the cornerback is in good stride for stride man? Or do I jump the underneath route and set my outside cornerback in one-on-one coverage against their fastest wide receiver? And late in the game, Clemson was taking advantage of that, running double routes whenever they saw there was cover 2 safety coverage out there. I get what you're saying, Texter, who said Clemson loses that game if Louisville's defense wasn't dog blank garbage. I get what you're saying. But don't we give credit, which we have not done a lot of this year, don't we give credit to Tony Elliott for recognizing the coverages that Louisville was running and running strengths to it? I think you have to here, right? There's a lot of people that are dumping on Clemson despite a win, a road win. Look, Satterfield's Louisville team is not great, all right? It wasn't Ohio State. That wasn't Georgia they were playing. But it's a slightly above average team with an offense that's going to scare most defenses in the country with the way Malik Cunningham can run the ball. Clemson recognized what they were doing and took advantage of it late in the game. And I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. Texter says they deserve 0 credit and Louisville eats all the blame. Just my opinion. That's fine. That's fine. Listen, Louisville looked uncomfortable. Louisville looked like a team late in the game, though, that was up against it in a pressure situation. They knew this wasn't Clemson of old, but they knew it's still a win over Clemson. That would have been a marked victory. And I think they got a little nervous deep down the stretch. I'm not going to take away that Louisville didn't change some things or freak out late in the game in a way that cost them. But I'm saying Clemson put them in that spot by playing to their strengths.
They showed again how Clemson is this season and how beatable they can be if you play the game right down the stretch. And they could have and probably should have won that game, talking about Louisville. And each week, whether it's a win or a loss for Clemson, the next team up is getting more and more confidence. Can they make it through the rest of the season without another loss? I'm not so sure.
No, I think there's another loss coming. I don't know where it is. But for that moment, I absolutely think Clemson gets credit today. Because they took a game where they were their backs against the wall. They recognized what Louisville was doing. They made the adjustments and they executed. They realized that DJ was getting pressured, so they started running the read option to make sure that defensive end was being honest and those linebackers were being honest. When they got over aggressive, they started pushing back against it. It worked. I wish they would have gone to Will Shipley in the first half. After the game that kid against FSU, I don't know how Will Shipley was an option 1A and 1B in that game. He wasn't early, but later in the game, they recognized his effectiveness and they started letting him loose. It worked.
But how healthy is he completely, though? And maybe that has a little bit of something to do with it.
But if he's healthy enough to give him the ball 10 times in the second half, why didn't you give it to him 8 in the first half? That's just me. All right, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. I think Clemson and I think South Carolina both deserve a lot of praise for the wins this weekend. South Carolina more so, but I think giving no praise to Clemson is a mistake. Who does not deserve praise? The Carolina Panthers. We'll break that game down next on the Rob Brown Show with ESPN Upstate.
When do we have Corey again?
Next segment. Not this one.
Okay.
Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
No, Steven, I did not see Venom yesterday, despite my claim to the contrary. Mainly because by the time we got back from Willie B at about 2 a.m., by the time I was back out in Boiling Springs Sunday morning and got back to the house that night, your boy was tired. I will see it this week. In fact, you know what? Lonzo, I'm going to go on the record right now. I'm going to go see it after work today. And I'm going to show times. Though I don't know where any of the Regal, Hollywood, and RPX. Where's that? He just pointed, ladies and gentlemen. I know you can't see him on the stream, but he just pointed in a direction.
Yeah, it's right down.
He just went.
It's right down the road on Woodruff Road.
So it's like right here?
It's that way.
It's like right here?
Yeah.
There's a showing at 4:25. I'm going to go see it right after work. If the lady friend's still watching the stream, or I can go see it at 8:25. Maybe later.
Yeah, I was just making sure it's the same theater. Yeah, it is.
SimpliSafe is celebrating this new camera with 30% off a new system this week. Visit simplisafe.com.
All right, so where have you been down that direction? I'm going to tell you where it is.
The interstate.
Okay, you go past the interstate.
Oh, you know what? I think I may have been there. I think that might have been the one Courtney took me to see King Kong.
You and I went.
Godzilla.
You and I, yeah, because you and I went to
the burger place.
Bad Dirt.
Yeah,
which is right over there. It's over in that. So across the interstate, I think it's first or second light to the right. You see Carolina L House? It's like behind that.
Okay. Yeah, that's where she took me to see Kong vs. Godzilla.
Just like in football, there's nothing like that one perfectly timed addition to get your team off and running. That's where LinkedIn steps in. LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network.
Oh, next to Dave & Buster's. Okay, I know where that is.
Yeah, it's in front of Dave & Buster's.
All right, since I mentioned it real quick, there is still a way for Clemson to win the ACC. It is going to be a big ask, but there is still a way in. So Clemson kept its hopes alive by knocking off Louisville, the latest in a string of exhilarating games. Clemson has to win out, okay? If nothing else, Clemson has to win out. But they also need help. They got some help with Wake Forest obviously losing this weekend. But there's a chance. It's unlikely, but at 6-3, with the losses, the way they've played so far, the Tigers will still need a little bit of help to make it in. We know that. We know the another Wake loss would be big, but it's a possibility. That being said, when it all comes down to it, I think if you're Clemson, welcome to the. By the way, and they're also out of the ACC. They're also going to need another NC State loss. Actually, I think they need NC State to fall twice because NC State has the tiebreaker over Clemson if they go head to head. Wake Forest is 8-1. NC State is 7-2. So Clemson has to win out, get another NC State loss, get another Wake Forest loss. Actually, 2. It's a long road. It's unlikely. Let's just say that. It's possible, but unlikely. But I think if you're Clemson, you've kind of hit the point where you're playing to get better, right? Like you're not playing for trophies now. You're playing to roll some momentum into next year. I had a conversation yesterday. We did the Carolina Kickoff Show every Sunday, 2 hours before kickoff. Live at Wings Etc. in Bowling Springs. So after the show was over, had a couple of listeners. I was sitting out on the back porch, having a drink and some wings with a couple of listeners who showed up. And there was a guy next to me who was a Clemson fan and a Panthers fan, and we got to talking college football. And he said, dude, what's the problem with Clemson's offense? And I thought it's really the first time that I've really tried to boil it down to like a short form conversation, right? And I think at the top part of it, the biggest problem that Dabo and the guys have had this year, is the fact that Dabo missed on a quarterback, right? He hit on 3 in a row. Taj, Deshaun, and Trevor. Those are 3 generational talents in Clemson. Bang, 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 1, 2, 3. Most colleges are lucky to hit on 1 Taj Boyd, Deshaun Watson, or Trevor Lawrence. They hit on 3 in a row. And the problem is, after X amount of years, just hitting on generational quarterback after generational quarterback after generational quarterback. After so many years of doing that, I think Clemson kind of hit to a spot where they were used to just rolling out a quarterback and having a Heisman finalist out there. And DJ didn't do that this year. And the team didn't know what to do, right? Just didn't know what to do. How many of the best, for instance, you guys know I love boxing analogies. How many times have we seen a great boxer win 3, 4, 5, 6 fights in a row and cruise to victory after victory after victory? And then they come up against an upstart. That upstart knocks them down in the first round. And that boxer never recovers, right? That boxer never gets back into form in that fight. And the reason why is because after a while, you forget what it's like to get punched in the mouth. And when it happens, it's a shock. And I suspect that's what happened to Clemson. Clemson was so good for so long and hit on so many quarterbacks in a row that were tremendous talents. And they expected DJ Uiagalelei to be one. And I think there's a little bit of this angle to DJ as well, right? I've talked about this on the show a couple of times. I think DJ's brand was built up so much, and you can blame Dabo. You can blame Big Dave, who I put a hefty amount of the blame on for this. You can blame any of these cats. But neither Dabo nor Clemson nor DJ knew what to do when his talent didn't just manifest into a Heisman year like was expected. And Clemson got punched in the mouth. They got punched in the mouth early, and they forgot what it's like to get punched in the mouth. I know a lot of you guys talk about humility and the fact that Dabo's a humble guy. And from what I've met of him, from what I've interacted with him, he seems like he is. But I don't think Dabo remember what it's like to not have a generational quarterback at the helm. I don't think Dabo knows what it's like, remembers what it's like to have to coach up a QB and not just roll a guy out there who out-talents 90% of the teams that they play. And I think this year's a learning process. I think this year's a learning process that they've had to kind of pull together. So if you're Clemson, I don't think you can worry about the ACC championship this year. That streak is over. I don't think you can worry about hardware. I don't think you can worry about trophies. I think if you're Clemson, you're playing to get better, right? You're playing to get your young guys experience. You're playing to show the recruits that are looking and going, wait a minute, that's not the Clemson I signed up for. That you still got fight, you still got resolve. That's what you're playing for now. And if that's what you're playing for now, that Louisville game showed that you can take a punch and keep coming. Even if it's a heavyweight punch from a lightweight boxer, you took a punch and you're still going. And that is mucho importante at this point if you're the Tigers. That's why I think they get a little bit of credit. I'm not heaping praise on them, right? I'm not throwing purple and orange confetti down on top of them right now. It's not like they get to go out there and claim this was a great all-time win. It was a gut-out win against a mediocre Louisville team. But being down the way they were down in the first half, they could have absolutely responded by rolling over. We've lost a handful already. Why not one more? But they didn't. And I think there is some positivity that you can take out of that game. This team is learning how to get punched in the mouth and keep going. How, when you don't have a generational talent that just outguns everybody, how you have to get out a win. Humility for many of us is a very tough lesson to learn. This is a year Clemson learns it. Does it translate to next year? That's the question that they have to answer now. Let's take a break. When we come back, Corey Diaz of the Greenville News. Based in Columbia, he's a Gamecock beat writer. He joins us here on the show to break down the demo job the Gamecocks put on the Gators this weekend. That's next on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
So
hit the restroom.
And by the way, Stephen, if you're still watching, not to worry, I didn't go see Eternals, so you wouldn't have been spoiled Saturday. And I am not positive I'm going to see it. It just doesn't, I don't know. Somebody just doesn't look like something I have to rush out and see. I could change my mind. And I might, but I don't know. Then it didn't record.
Visits are just one of the ways United Healthcare helps connect you to better health. Learn more at uhc.com. And benefits may vary. Starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
I love my family. They're funny, sweet, smart, even smell nice. But I hate holiday shopping for them. But ho, 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 not anymore. Because I discovered the perfect holiday gift for my entire family, Skechers. Skechers have affordable, comfortable shoes that will make checking off your gift list easy as pumpkin pie. The kids go crazy for them. They have shoes that light up with sparkles, shoes that slip on and off, shoes that look cool. Forget about toys this year. Skechers are just as fun and no assembly required. And they're not just for kids. Adults love them too. They've got cozy slippers, comfy winter boots, sneakers for walking, running, outdoors, exercise, and all sorts of work footwear. Or if you're lucky enough to play golf, yep, Skechers has
Good. It's you this time. I called the wrong number last time. And, this is Ricky, and I didn't think you sound like Ricky. So yeah, yeah. Well, it would have been difficult for Ricky. Trust me. Hang on. Lucky I just got Ricky's voicemail. You reach Ricky's voicemail.
Every Monday at this time, we take a telephone trip over to Columbia, South Carolina, and welcome in the young man who covers the Gamecocks of USC for the Greenville News. His name is Corey Diaz, and he joins us here on the show as always. Corey, first off, man, good to see you on Saturday. Glad we got to chat it up outside Willie B. What a hell of a night for the Gamecocks, huh?
You could have given me, 100 guesses as to how I thought that game would transpire Saturday night. And in 100 tries, man, I would not have arrived at what, the fans that were there, obviously all of us, yourself, Rob, in the press box and in the club level. What we saw, man, was we just saw a different team. I think we saw a different team. Sometimes, having an off week and, can bring about a lot of positives. And I think that was kind of one of the main driving forces for the South Carolina football team, and how it was able to not only just beat a Florida Gator team who, let's be honest, is got a lot more talent up and down its roster right now. But, it was a situation where, they were rested and they came out and obviously the game plan that they had put together was the absolute perfect one.
We hear the cliche in sports all the time, Corey, that a team with less talent that believes in itself and executes can beat a team that has more talent that doesn't have those things. I think it's relatively clear that the Florida Gators have all but given up on this season coming into that game at 4-4. I think earlier in the year they were a little cocky, probably believed in themselves a little more than they should have at the point. But I'm with you. I could have predicted that game 50 times and not come up with the right result. That Gamecocks team looked different. It felt different. It played different. It felt like that game mattered to them. Was there any sense of that last week, that this team maybe had flipped some kind of switch, or was it just one of them games?
I've always had a hard time, because look, this is my fifth year, on a college football beat, and I've always struggled with the notion that coaches really try to push off on within the media on, our team we've despite losing that game last week, we have become closer together and we're a tighter knit group now. We had whether it was a players only meeting or we had a meeting as a whole team, and we've really figured things out and put it all together. I struggle with that. But I will say that, I think 2 weeks ago, when LSU, look, LSU beating Florida, honestly, I think especially from an offensive standpoint, I think it gave South Carolina a tremendous blueprint on how to effectively run the football. against Florida's defense. Because again, there's athleticism, there's size, all over the field in Florida's defense, and so, from what I noticed from kind of going back and rewatching a little bit of the LSU Florida game and down in Baton Rouge versus what we saw this past Saturday night, a lot of especially the run game concepts, that Marcus Satterfield and Shane, incorporated in the game plan offensively were almost mirror image. And so, I think LSU rushed for over 300 yards against Florida's defense. I mean, if you're Shane and Marcus, why don't you go to that game film, right, and look at what worked? And they incorporated a lot of those tendencies that LSU found to be successful, and it worked Saturday night. The same stuff, and you would think that Dan Mullen and his defense staff, Todd Grantham, who's now have already been shown the door, down in Gainesville, no longer on staff, and you kind of think that they would have went back to the drawing board after just that embarrassment in terms of a run defensive performance, down at LSU a couple weeks ago. But obviously they didn't do that.
Talking to Corey Diaz, he covers the Gamecocks of South Carolina for the Greenville News based in Columbia. Follow him on Twitter at Corey Diaz _TGN, as in the Greenville News. We talked a little bit about this game last week, and I think we both kind of belabored the point multiple times that you need to be able to run the ball against Florida. And dadgum, if the Gamecocks of South Carolina didn't run the ball, not just repeatedly, but efficiently, 3 players with a YPC over 6.62 with a YPC over 8 when it was all said and done. Granted, that usually means that one of them reels off a big yardage play, but multiple Gamecock players having very efficient running days. Is that the commitment to a game plan we can see out of Beamer's team moving forward against Mizzou and Auburn?
Yeah, I think so. I think Marcus and Shane will continue to keep South Carolina from a run game perspective. The other night against Florida, they really relied heavily on the counter plays, the counter draws, and some power plays. Trey Jones, who every time he trots out on the field, I get super excited because I guess I'm an old school guy, right? And I love an I formation with a fullback, out there, but we rarely see that these days in the sport, with the spread and the air raid offenses and things of that nature. But I do think a lot of that stuff will stay in the game plan. But you have to give Marcus, the offensive staff, Shane, a lot of credit. I think they may have found something in just like really diving into game film and really finding the tendencies that these opposing defenses have struggled with. And that could be counter and power. It could be a lot of wide gap zone runs. It could be a lot of RPOs. I mean, we could see and that's the thing that Jason Brown brings to this offense, right? At the quarterback position is you can incorporate a lot more RPOs. With his ability to run and tuck the ball and pick up those positive yardage. We didn't really see a lot of that the other night, but to be honest, the run game was so effective that it really opened up the passing game. South Carolina had a couple really good key first down conversions in the pass game, and extended some drives with it. And it's kind of what you have to do here is you have to have one aspect of the offense, really sort of fuel and funnel, the other side. And I think for the first time, this season, we were able to see that. So, yeah. So to answer, I know that's a long-winded answer to your question, Rob. I mean, obviously, I do think the counter plays stay. I do think a lot of the power plays stay. But I mean, they won't deviate too far from, taking out some of the zone replays as well. I think you'll see that too.
Corey Diaz covers the Gamecocks of South Carolina for the Greenville News. Joins us every Monday here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Defensively, I was very impressed with USC, not necessarily because of dominance, but they were just in the right place to make plays, which is a sign of discipline, right? And considering our complaints in the first half of the season were primarily about discipline mistakes, lots of holding, lots of guys being lined up in the wrong places, blown coverages, etc. I had to tell you, that seemed to be cleaned up, which is all we've been asking for all year. Make a bowl, don't make a bowl, just show us improvement. And I think in that era, the mental side of the game, South Carolina looked like a different team this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. When you talk about the defensive side of the ball, obviously that's been kind of the, obviously it's hard to kind of say that, any aspect of a 4-4 team, right, has a quote unquote bell cow, but the defense has been the driving force for this football team. I mean, I think if this defense was statistically a little worse than what it is, there's probably a couple more losses, on South Carolina's schedule right now. But, you have to, I've been a big vocal supporter of Clayton White and what he's been able to do, with this defense in year one. That's always the hardest thing for a defensive coordinator in his first year, to come in with a bunch of guys that obviously you did not recruit. You have to find ways to figure out what their frame is, how they fit in your scheme and what you want to do. And, sometimes you have to move guys around. I think in the last two games, we've kind of seen JJ and Agbari, move, not only from just a pure defensive end position, but he's played some outside linebacker, at Texas A&M and against Florida the other night. So, there's still some moving pieces on the defensive side of the ball, but, these are guys that I think that, even with Karan Prunty, deciding to transfer before even playing a game, there has been some injuries, on the defensive side of the ball. Sherrod Green goes down, in the first series against Georgia. There's kind of been some things that would have made it easy for the defensive guys to just kind of pack it in and say, we tried, but we don't have our best guys, so we'll just go out here and go through the motions. But those guys really, really, really believe in Clayton White and his philosophies and what he's teaching. And, I think as we've progressed through 9 games so far this season, we're just continuing to see the defensive side of the ball just get incrementally better and incrementally better. And, Florida's offense is a hard one to game plan for, just because of, the ability of Emory Jones and the Richardson kid to run the football, whether it be on design quarterback runs or something that they read, So I thought on those read plays, that was probably the best South Carolina's defense has looked all year long. And so I think those are really, really, really big positives and something that they can take with them through these next 3 games.
Corey, I just looked it up, and this kind of blew my mind a little bit after that performance. And again, the one thing I have to say is it was a game. It was a great game, but it was one game out of South Carolina. We still need to see, okay, is this the new identity, or was it just a great day? However, I was a little taken aback by this. The Vegas line just came out. Missouri is a 2.5-point favorite. Now, that's the home field advantage, meaning they consider this game about even, but Mizzou is a 2.5-point favorite over South Carolina at home. Full paycheck on South Carolina, right? Or am I jumping the gun a little bit here?
If I was a betting man, I think I like those odds. I think, Circus Sports, I think they usually, they drop their lines, Sunday afternoon sometimes. So yesterday I saw their line and they opened with Missouri being a 3-point favorite. And I was surprised. I thought with the performance that South Carolina put out there on Saturday versus, how Missouri has looked all year long, I thought that would have been enough for South Carolina to be a road favorite in this game. But, I guess, sometimes Vegas kind of knows a little more than us lowly sports writers, they kind of do this for a living. So maybe they're seeing something that I haven't seen. But look, here's the deal. Missouri has a historically bad rush defense. I mean, it is atrocious. The defense as a whole has been historically bad. I think they're allowing over 500 yards of total offense per game. That's crazy. I've never heard of a defense being that bad. And the biggest key for South Carolina is continue that momentum in the run game. With Zaquandre Wright, with Kevin Harris, with Marshawn Lloyd, to continue to hit those big plays. If the offensive line can play 75% as good as it did against Florida's defensive line. I mean, I can't envision a scenario if all those things play themselves out. I can't envision a scenario in which South Carolina loses this football game on Saturday. But, you know, that's why they play the games. Every game starts 0-0. So we'll see what Marcus Satterfield and Shane, what they put together offensively. And, you know, we'll see how the game goes on Saturday.
Corey Diaz covered the Gamecocks of South Carolina for the Greenville News. You can find him on Twitter at Corey Diaz _TGN is in the Greenville News. He joins us every Monday to break down Gamecock football. Corey, dude, great to see you on Saturday, man. Hope it's not another 6 months before it happens again. I have got the listeners of the show are trying to start a GoFundMe to get me sent to every Gamecock game for the rest of the year. So I may see you again soon.
I was going to say, man, you know, superstition is huge in sports. So I'm sure, you know, once your listeners learned that you were at the game on Saturday and they saw how things transpired, I'm sure right immediately after the game, your phone was flooded with messages of you're flying to Columbia, Missouri, right? Or you're coming to the Auburn game, right? I'm sure that happened. So yeah, who knows? Maybe it is in the best interest to have the Rob Brown show go live from a South Carolina football game for the rest of the year.
I'm just saying, I'm not going to turn the offer down. Corey, great to talk to you, big dog. We will see you next week, amigo.
All right, brother. Sounds good. Y'all take care.
You got it. That's it. That is Corey Diaz of the Greenville News. Corey Diaz _TGN. Appreciate him joining us. Let's take a break. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
It's not supposed to taste good.
Surgery until you check this out. See if you're a candidate. QC Kinetics
Call 864-448-3772. That's 872. Neurosurgical pain relief with lasting results. 864-448-3772. Are you hiring? Of course, every employer is. If your business is hiring, how can you access our hundreds of thousands of listeners who are potential candidates? Employers can contact us today at upstatejobs@espnupstate.com.
By the way, you're right, Stephen. I did put that on my description for my video, but it was more so people can tell me whether I should go or not go. But normally when I put it on there, it means I've seen it, so I can understand why you stayed away.
If your family depends on your income and something happened to you, what would happen to them? You need life insurance, and SelectQuote can help you get it at a price you can afford.
SelectQuote found Jacob, 40, who's in excellent health, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month.
Not imperfect.
That was wicked interception.
SelectQuote found Todd,
Yeah.
40, who
I
has
mean,
type 2 diabetes.
that's not Darnold's fault.
No.
That's just amazing athleticism.
Oh, Lord. Oh,
And then he took his shirt off.
yeah, that's what you do. Lonzo, if I had a body like those soccer fans, I'd never wear a
I was
shirt.
gonna say, dude was cut. I'm not. I mean, you know.
Look at the jump man, the Michael Jordan pose. That's a snag, son.
Wait, was that a dolphin?
Yeah, they won, but they were playing Houston, so you know. Houston may very well set the record for most L's in a season this year, courtesy of the 17-game schedule. God, you have to retire after that. All right, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. Thanks again to Corey Diaz from the Greenville News for joining us on the show. When we come back in the next hour of the show, we're going to make another run at the Panthers game. Full breakdown of that, because I got to tell you, look, y'all going in on Sam Darnold. And don't get me wrong, he had a bad day, all right? But it's not, A, it's not entirely on him, and B, I've been trying to tell y'all from the beginning, you got to treat the dude like a rookie. So I'm going to ask the question. If Sam Darnold was a rookie, would he be getting more leniency than he's getting right now? And does he deserve it? I'm going to say yes. And I'll tell you why when we come back, plus your phone calls and texts next up on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. That's so good.
Will that be that kid's only sports story ever, though? Will that be his back in my day? I did
was on
this.
ESPN. I was the number one play on ESPN Upstate when I was 8.
Had a kid like that. I think when Cameron was like 9 years old, he was a little bit bigger and faster than everybody else. And one time, Cameron was blocking, but he wasn't fast enough. Dude just walked up Cameron's back. He had like cleat marks back there because he just couldn't even get mad about it. This is like,
hey, man, blocker, get out of the way.
I am not saying that if you're anti-Tebow, you're in league with Satan. You may be. You might be. I mean, that's up to you. That's on you and your soul. Kevin Fiddler here from Westwood One with a preview of Monday Night Football with the Bears at the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger and Pittsburgh are 4-3, but on a 3-game winning streak and are just a game back in the AFC North. Chicago is looking for a 3-game losing trend and get past some key injuries, especially on defense. Join Trent Green and me for all the action on Monday Night Football. Tonight at 7:30, the NFL plays here on ESPN Upstate.
And check this out. Unofficial lockdown. Represent Freedom Green.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. The third, the final, the best hour is right now on ESPN Upstate 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, and all around the world on the radio the Odyssey app, AUDACY, the Odyssey app. Download it, put it on all of your digital devices, your laptops, your PCs, your phones, your tablets, wherever it is. You've got a speaker and an internet connection, and you can listen to us live wherever you might be. I am Rob Brown, the great with Lonzo directly across the glass from me. If you want to be a part of the show, 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us at 71307, 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the radio broadcast. Look, Samuel Darnold, the first string quarterback for your Carolina Panthers, there has been a lot of talk about this guy, and I'm very excited to have Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast join us on the show as he does every Thursday to break this down, because I'm curious as to the reaction of Panther Nation as a whole and how they feel about this guy after 3 INT game. First off, I want to start with this. That interception that Lonzo and I watched during the break was, and I believe the kids say, redonk.
that was a freak of nature leaping into the sky and said sky. Most guys knock that down. If they get lucky to tip it, he just jumped up and said, "I'll take that." And just a couple feet away, it's an amazing thing. I'm surprised you don't see that happen more often. And the reason why you don't is because even with the kind of athletes we have in the NFL, that's a hard thing to do.
It was impressive. So let's chalk it up to 2 picks. You say 3 if you want. Chalk it up to 2 picks. And there's a couple of spots that I kind of feel like Sam Darnold's taking heat. What's the old phrase? And I think it may be as true as anything else that gets said cliche-wise about the National Football League. An NFL quarterback, Lonzo, gets too much of the credit when things go right and too much of the blame when things go wrong. And I believe that to be entirely true. What is happening with the Carolina Panthers? And remember, last week was a damn good win on the road over the Falcons. Okay? Falcons team that just went down in New Orleans and beat the Saints the week after. That was a good win. But I said yesterday, 2 hours before kickoff, I go live on the Carolina Kickoff Show, live from Wings, etc. in Boiling Springs. That airs on our sister station, Classic Rock 101.1. I'm on the air with Diddy on Sunday morning. By the way, this weekend, the Panthers kick at 4 o'clock on Sunday, the 4:05 kick against the Cardinals. I will be live at Wings Etc. at 2 p.m. on Sunday. 2 o'clock on Sunday. Come out and join me. I'd love to have you there. I said that at this point moving forward, I'm relatively convinced that the Carolina Panthers will win any game in which Sam Darnold throws the ball 20 times or fewer. 20 times, that's the max. They throw it over 20, it means they were playing from behind and they didn't have a chance anyway. He threw the ball 36 times this weekend. Last weekend, when they took on the Atlanta Falcons, Sam Darnold, I believe, had 16 passing attempts. 16. Last weekend, when the Carolina Panthers knocked off the Atlanta Falcons, they ran the ball off the top of my head, if I recall correctly, Lonzo, 47 times. The Panthers ran the ball last week. You know how many times they ran the ball this week? With the return of Christian McCaffrey? 23. They threw literally twice as many times, and they ran half as many times. Now, a good chunk of that had to do with the fact that at halftime, they were down 14-6. But you shouldn't have let the Patriots race out to a 14-point second quarter. And once they did, once they played from behind, this Panthers team is not meant to play from behind. It's not built to play from behind. Teams that can throw the ball well can play from behind. The Panthers can't. But there's too much of the blame getting put on Sam Darnold right now. I said coming into this season that I am treating Sam Darnold as a rookie. And I know a lot of people don't want to do that because he's a fourth-year guy, and I get it. There are some rookie lessons that I hope he has learned at this point. Lonzo, I hope at this point he has learned the speed of the NFL game. I hope at this point he has learned how to communicate with his coaches and his players. In fairness, I didn't see any of that. And I am concerned about the leadership capabilities of Sam Darnold. After pick number 2 and pick number 3, I saw Sam Darnold come back to the sideline, and at one point the camera showed him, and he was sitting on the bench looking at the tablet with not a single player around him. Now, you can't judge what is or is not happening on an NFL sideline based on 15 seconds of what a sideline camera view shows you, right? Can't do it. But a picture's worth 1,000 words sometimes.
Especially since the camera view was put there just to point out that
Sure.
he's there by himself.
Sure. But they can only point it out if that's what's happening, right? They can only point it out if that's what's happening. So Sam Darnold's on the sideline after throwing pick number 2 and number 3 on the bench by himself. No wide receivers around him diagnosing routes. No offensive linemen around him breaking down blocking schemes and what went right and what went wrong. Just him. Now, there have been some really good quarterbacks, guys like Drew Brees, guys like Peyton Manning, where there were plenty of shots after an INT, after a busted play, of them sitting on the sideline looking at their tablet, going over the play in their own head. It's happened. That's not by itself a black mark on a QB. But it is when there seemed to be no interaction. I am worried about Sam Darnold's leadership, his ability to be a leader on the sideline. But I am treating the guy like a rookie. I don't think I can emphasize how bad the New York Jets organization was when Sam Darnold was there. I do not think I can emphasize how bad Adam Gase was as a head coach, how bad Adam Gase is as a head coach. I don't think I can emphasize how far behind the 8 ball in his career Sam Darnold is and was, because he was spending time toiling away under a terrible franchise and a terrible coaching regime. So I'm starting the cat off as a rookie. And if I had to ask the question, if Sam Darnold was actually a rookie, if this was his first year in the league, would Panthers fans be giving up on him already? And I got to think the answer is no, right? I got to think the answer is no. The Jags fans didn't give up on Trevor Lawrence, and he didn't have a hot start to the season. The Bears fans didn't give up on Justin Fields, and he couldn't outduel Andy Dalton to get the starting spot in week 1. Nobody else would be giving up on their quarterback if he was a true rookie. And so because of that, I'd like to tell the Panthers fans, this is not the spot to give up on him yet. I'm not saying he's going to be great. I'm not saying he's going to be a Pro Bowler. I'm not saying he's going to win you a Hall of Famer, win you a Super Bowl and go to the Hall of Fame. I'm saying if this kid was a rookie, if this was genuinely his first year in the NFL, you wouldn't be giving up on him. And because of how bad Adam Gase and the Jets organization was when he was there, my argument is treat him like a rookie getting his first true test in the NFL and look at it through that prism. And I think you will stop magnifying the mistakes of Sam Darnold, of which there are a bunch. And you would start looking at the fact that this offensive line is atrocious in pass pro. I think you'd start looking at the fact that for 5 games, you took his best weapon away from him. I think you would start looking at the fact that this wide receiver core has been, despite being on paper, arguably the second or third best 1-2 combo in the league, has been bad this year. And if you take those 3 things into consideration and you stack those on top of the fact that Sam Darnold was a rookie, if he was, I think you'd be willing to place the blame for the struggle yesterday elsewhere.
And see, I get that analogy, and I completely understand it, and you probably should look at it that way. But, excuse me, put Trevor Lawrence kind of in the same position, okay? There's a good shot that he doesn't win where he is. There's a good shot that people will blame it on coaching and that he went to the worst place. Replace Sam Darnold with Trevor Lawrence. People are still going to be doing the same thing. They're going to say, get him out of there, because Sam Darnold has the experience, and I don't think you can look at him like a rookie. Same with Justin Fields. Justin Fields, if he ends up having a tough time, they do the same thing, get him out of there. Sam Darnold, if he season, that would be different. But then just the last couple games, he's just started doing this. He's regressing. It looked like, hey, in this system, away from this guy's going to improve every week. And then suddenly he took a step back to where he was, and he doesn't seem to be able to come out of it.
So I go back to last week against Atlanta. I don't think Sam Darnold regressed last week. I think Sam Darnold finally had a game plan around him last week that allowed him to reach what he's capable of today. When they ran the ball 47 times and they threw it 18, and they didn't ask Sam Darnold to carry the weight of this team on the shoulders, he threw the ball relatively well. This week they said, hey, look, we put a garbage pass pro offensive line in front of you. Your escape valve your escape valve is back on the field for the first time in a month and a half. And we need you to throw the ball 36 times. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. This dude needs to quarterback the team. He needs to be coached to quarterback the team the way a rookie does. He has to unlearn everything that Adam Gase and that garbage coaching staff in New York gave to him, and relearn how to be a quarterback in Matt Rule's system. That's not something you do in, remember, a shortened, COVID-affected offseason. I'm giving him the same benefit of the doubt that I'm giving, for instance, Shane Beamer in South Carolina. This was not the regular offseason that you would have gotten in any other year ever. Not only did he have a short offseason being brought in on a trade, but he couldn't really work out with the full team until way late into the season. And that set him back even further than he already was by having been a New York Jet. Texter says, no quarterback can be successful behind that Panthers O-line. I'm going to go ahead and spoiler alert Rashad's interview with us on Thursday. He disagrees with that. Rashad thinks that the decision-making is worse than it needs to be behind a bad offensive line. I'm going to disagree with him. Be an interesting conversation on Thursday.
There are some making, and it has nothing to do with the offensive line. I mean, even though he made...
I'm not saying he's making great decisions when he's not under attack.
I would rather, even though... I'm
rushing games. I agree with you. I got to wonder after he took the shot to the dome against Atlanta, though, if they didn't say, hey, cool your jets on that.
Tighten that strap up a little bit and it wouldn't have been so bad.
Texter said, to be fair to Darnold, there was nobody open. The Pats had it locked down and had a man in his face almost the entire game. Yeah, I mean,
all the more.
Again, I agree. The defensive backfield for New England was great. The Carolina wide receivers seem to be half-assing it more often than they're not. And the offensive line's bad enough that they're giving up pressures constantly.
You know, and the TV announcers pointed this out, that it was, I believe it wasn't until the second half before they actually threw a pass to Christian McCaffrey. That's just not smart. And I realize you've got him on a pitch count kind of thing, and he's probably more susceptible to re-injuring in the pass game. But what a threat he is in the pass game. And a couple passes he caught, he looked awesome. And he still is. You got to get him involved in the passing game again.
Yeah.
Because he's going.
The analogy that I made on the Carolina Kickoff Show on Sunday about Christian McCaffrey. You know, I like to make a good sports analogy. It's like my 6-1 this show alone. You're welcome. You know, the last lap before NASCAR goes green flag and the lights on the pace car are off. You know, the green flag's coming. It's about time to get started. And what do you see? You see the cars. Lonzo, you may or may not know this. You see the cars and they do the left, right thing where they're weaving in and out of the lane.
I do the same thing in the left lane when people are going real slow.
You do it out of boredom. They do it for a reason. The reason they do that is twofold. Number one, it warms up the tire, gets the tires heated up, gets the right tire pressure and gets the temperature of the tires to where they will react the way the drivers want, A. And B, it knocks what they call the marbles off the tires. There's these little chunks of rubber that come off the tires as they wear down over 150, 200 laps, whatever they're going to run. And these little chunks of marbles that wear off the tires, little chunks of rubber, they call them marbles. They're about that big. And they spray all over the track. And what'll happen is they'll get embedded into the tires of these cars. And if you don't knock the marbles off, they'll actually start to create cracks in the rubber in the tire to wear your tires down faster. You'll lose 2-3 laps of wear. And in a NASCAR race, that can be the difference. So right before they go green flag, you'll see these cars go left and right to warm up the tires and knock the marbles off. That's what this was for Christian McCaffrey in his first game back from that injury. It's a warm-up lap. He's getting the legs warmed up, back to game speed. He's knocking off the rust, knocking off the marbles to get back to full speed. You can't, I said this on Sunday, you can't put the ball in his hand 25 times just because he's back, because you'll get him hurt again. And if he gets hurt again after coming off the PUP list, he's done for the year. You can't risk that. You got to give him time to give it. And by the way, you won last week without him. You got to give him time, and that's what happened. He will be back in the game plan, more full speed coming up this week. He will be a weapon for Sam Darnold more next week, and that's a big get. Tex says ESPN, IDK, people are ready to ditch Tua. Yeah, they are, but not the Miami fans. I got a very dear friend of mine who lives down in Miami, big Dolphins fan. I've asked him about it every week. I'm like, is it time to move on from Tua? He's like, no. You got to keep in mind, Tua's been dealing with a lot of injuries. Now, you might want to write him off as being injury-ridden, but I don't know. I'm not ready to do that. These things stack up if you don't take care of them. And two, remember Brian Flores is in, I believe, his first or second year down there in Miami, too. It's a steep learning curve down in Miami. Texture says, I like Rob's take on Sam Darnold. Darnold is the age of a rookie. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm treating him that way. Remember, Sam Darnold was young when he got into the league. He was one of the youngest guys ever drafted into the NFL. Sam Darnold's 24. He's not a rookie, but he was brought in very young, which means you got to reset a lot about him. Texter says, Matt Rule is the Willie Taggart of the NFL. This job is way over his head. You believe that, Lonzo? Is this job over Matt Rule's head?
I was sitting here thinking about all the flack that Urban Meyer has received about how a college football coach can't succeed in the NFL and wondering why Matt Rule hasn't gotten any of that.
Because he's not the same high-profile guy. That's it.
But has he really done that good?
It's fair criticism.
I mean, how many years in the NFL now are you allowed to be mediocre?
Yeah, it's fair criticism. I got to tell you, I think he's got one more. I think if next year's Panthers team isn't a big step forward, he's done. I agree with that. ESPN, any player and or athlete who reverts back to old habits is uncoachable. Here's the thing. I think a lot of those habits are brought out by situation as much as Darnold. Like, it's nice to be able to say, all right, man, 5 steps in the pocket, set your feet, read left, read center, read right, read left, then scramble, then throw to McCaffrey. And it's another thing when he's getting absolutely hounded by defensive line from the get.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I guess, and this is not a joke, how hard he got hit a couple of weeks ago, that will make you revert back.
In your face the way New England was, and you're dealing with a ding like the one he took against Atlanta. That's not uncoachable. That's just you're scared. It happens.
I know concussions. When you get a concussion, the first thing you think about is, I don't want that to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And you get in a situation where you think, oh man, that's gonna no. I just gotta get rid of this.
Not gonna run the ball like it used to. Finally, Texas says, by the way, Sam has seen Bill Belichick through. Yeah, that's also true. Good point. Not many coaches that can break you down the way Hoodie has, and Hoodie has extensive experience with him. This week is a big week for Sam Darnold, by the way. Against Arizona, this is a big week. If he bounces back this week, the optimism regrows.
Well, one thing he's going to have to do, they're going to have to score some points, or they don't have a shot.
Oh, true. They can't play from behind, and they need not just score points, though, but do it early. You cannot get in a big hole against Arizona, play from behind. Their defensive backfield is too good. Let's take a break. When we come back, we don't do this often, but we're going to do a special Monday edition of the Fight Club because UFC had a whale of a card on Saturday night. A lot of y'all didn't see it because college football was good, and I'm not mad at you for it. But if you can go back and watch the replay, I suggest, because it was a whale of a card. We'll break it down next on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
High school football fans, I'm Cole Bryson. Get the scores, discussion, interviews, and more on the Saturday Morning Scramble powered by Founders Federal Credit Union. Every Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m. It's reverse. Wade Meadows, right side.
Oh. All right, that was just a whiff. You got in your own head. You took too much off of it. Oh. 3 bounces off the rim. There it is. There it is.
Someone replaced our trash can with something a little more bouncy.
Stay in touch with the heartbeat of your team, even when you're thousands of miles away. Download the Odyssey app today to get started.
It's not just Santa who's coming to town, it's also your in-laws and their cousins. So time for some gifts from the Home Depot. From doorbell cameras to intelligent thermostats, who look smart and save big on the latest smart.
Trying to figure out what kind of gun that is. I mean, should I know what kind of gun that is?
What?
The Damon Arnett thing.
I just saw something about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, Panda sent it to us, and also TMZ just. If you look at TMZ, they actually show the picture of him with the gun. I don't know what that is. It doesn't look like a. Doesn't look like a real gun, but again, I'm no expert.
I mean, if you're an NFL player, even if even if the person in question was legit threatening with violence, that's not the correct answer.
No, I agreed, and especially doing it on TikTok.
Yeah, that's not the correct answer. What a season for the Raiders, though, huh?
Yeah, you would have enjoyed the conversation of what we were just talking about on the stream. If you don't, ESPN Upstate's Facebook page, a bunch of other places, and you can see us on the stream. All right, Fight Club. I'm
Fight of the year. Instagram made some questionable decisions in that one, but we had a blast. Ill-advised yet entertaining is my strong suit.
Yes.
I have never identified with a fighter more than that. I think ill-advised yet entertaining is the new tagline for this show.
something else that I hadn't seen a lot. And Shane Burgess won that. And it was funny because Joe Rogan was there, and the usual guys were there. And their comment, the crowd is restless because this fight had to fight. That. This and it's Rose.
Wait. You are slipping right past the greatest contribution to the internet from the UFC in a while, which is, have you seen the image of his face?
Oh yeah. You know,
Landed super flush. Frankie Edgar's face will be memorialized on the internet forever in one of the most violently landed kicks.
I'm so glad you reminded me of that, because I'm like, how do you know?
Left or right, and it catches the bottom of that jaw. He's fighting on one.
But he caught.
That fight, from a technical standpoint, was as good as I've seen in a while. Those two guys were standing flush. Both scored knockdowns. Both were trying for takedowns. Both were had takedown defense that was as good as I've seen in a very long time. Listen, that first fight was incredibly exciting, but not really technically sound. That was just two guys who wanted to put the other to sleep. That Edgar fight was as good of a technical fight that was still entertaining that I've seen in a very long time. As much as that first one, that Gaethje fight, was entertaining from just a standpoint of two guys duking it, that fight right there was one of the most entertaining I've seen as a genuine MMA fan in a long time. And those two fights combined were the reason 268 was the best card UFC's had in a while.
You know, and it's another one. And John Anik and showed react. But not so much like this. I mean, when something hits, it hits like that. It's all you can think. You feel it. You feel it. And when they slow-mo and they show that foot going, that's all right. So the next fight.
Practice.
And then I did it twice. Lose this. She is definitely going to lose this, but she managed to win the first round. She lost the second round, and it's a split decision. And this is why we'll talk about the fight in a second, but here's how the judges had it. 48 for Rose, 47-48 for Weili Zhang, and then 3 points again.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same judge or not, but it's just that's just
you'd bet on it though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's just an awful lot for this kind of scoring, and it happens again, which we'll get to in a minute. But what a people talk about how Chandler fight should have been a main event somewhere. This was a main event, and this was worth it. And you know, Weili Zhang has an entire country behind her as far as China goes. She's a great fighter, and they were. You tell the announcers are kind of hoping for a trilogy. They're kind of hoping. You don't want to come out and say that, but you know, if it goes the other way, then you get that third fight that'll really mean something. But we don't get it. We get Thug Rose winning the fight, and my wife, why is Halle Berry in the ring? And I'm like, but it's
that those two women were coming to go to war, and it was still better than I thought. I mean, we knew, I think we both talked about it that, or at least I did last week, that I think that there has been, without a doubt, a post Ronda Rousey revolution in women's MMA, right? Like, we have gone from, I got to tell you, I think both of these women, even in Ronda's prime, would have given her a run for the money, right?
I agree.
think both of them would have given her a run for her money in her prime, not end of the career Ronda, in her like pre-Holly Holmes Ronda Rousey. These two women would have given her a run for her money. There has been a revolution, and I still think there are some people coming around to that. Go back and watch that fight, because that fight was two ladies who were trying to make a mark on this sport, and I think they did it. That fight is going to go down, if this revolution continues, as a benchmark in it.
So then, you get to the main event, and I'm looking at the clock, and I know the clocks are changing back and all this kind of, but it is late. And it's always a struggle for me when I get to the main event. And it was not in this, because there's bad blood between Usman and Colby Covington. And unfortunately, it's all politically motivated. One side hates the other side, that type of thing. But when it comes down to it, Kamaru Usman, everyone has that guy that's a problem for them. I thought it could have went either way a couple of times. Covington got knocked out. I mean, it's one of those. Have you seen someone get knocked?
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's going to be any review to that. Kamaru Usman's a dude, man. That's a dude. And this is not taking anything away from Colby Covington, because that dude's a fighter. That dude's a scrapper, no doubt. But Kamaru Usman is a dude, and you could see that it doesn't happen every UFC card. But Saturday night, I get back to the house after driving back from Columbia. I'm laying in bed. I got Sports Center on. They're flashing through, because Sports Center doesn't show replays of the fight until a couple of days down the road. But they're they're going over it and they're talking about it. And I saved the fight for Sunday. I saved to go back and watch the replay for Sunday. But I'm scrolling through Twitter, and it was a night when like every celebrity's tweeting about it, and everybody was tweeting about how Usman is a dude for that win. I went back and watched it, and Kamaru Usman is one of the better pound for pounders. What's his next? He's chasing down GSP's for record next, I believe.
Yeah.
And he might get it.
But one of the cool. They talked to each other for a while, and it looked like with all the press conferences and everything and all the stuff that's said, that's something you never think you're going to see, but it happens more often than not in UFC. There's still some guys that still remain punks afterwards, but they had a pretty good talk. And Usman said when he got on the mic, "I just got to give it tonight." But he's a tough son of a bleep. I mean, when you share an octagon with someone this tough, you can't help it. That respect is going to come. He hit me with some shots, and I could tell they've been working on it. The power come up a little bit, and I could tell they've been working on it. I had to give him that respect. So, and again, when there's that kind of bad blood and a lot of talking going on, and the fact that Politics got involved with this. It's awesome to see two people come together afterwards. And as Usman said, there'll probably be more after tonight. But after doing
Look, there's not much.
you don't need to see both sides jumping in the ring, fighting each other, and all that kind of stuff after a fight. It was a contest. It's over. And you move.
By the way, the one name I did not hear you bring up was Chris Barnett, the big man heavyweight that put on the sickest heel roundhouse kick I've ever seen.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I was on the air during that time.
Allow me to help you, Lonzo. This is Chris Barnett. Pow! With the roundhouse heel kick. But not only, so he wins the fight on that kick because he was able to get homeboy down. But watch the celebration when the ref finally calls the fight. The greatest bang! The greatest front flip I've ever seen.
You know what that?
A big man celebration.
That is a tryout for professional wrestling. That's what that was.
Nailed it. Fantastic stuff. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back one more segment, then Twitter trending topics to wrap it all up on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Darius Rucker was on McAfee show today.
Then it's saying audio is out on the.
Yeah, we got a text earlier said it was clicking in and out.
You got me on that one. It's not me. Here's what I'm going to blame the audio problems on sunspots. When the haughty intellectual gets back in the room, I'm sure he will also agree with me that it's sunspots. By the way, it very well could be sunspots. It could be, I believe, it could be sunspots. That's great.
Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, the unicorn of cleaning. I'm Serena Williams. You watch me live on TV. And I'm the dad for that hilarious sitcom you watch on demand. Thanks to DirecTV Stream, our worlds have been brought together. And there's a laugh track for them. Yeah, well, they kind of just follow me. Introducing DirecTV Stream, the best of live TV on demand, no annual contract. Get your TV together at DirecTV.com. Requires high-speed internet and compatible device content varied by package location.
Tony said it was something about them doing something on wide orbit, but that it should be settled now.
I don't know why that would affect that, but I blame it on sunspots.
I don't think I have seen as many split opinions on a movie as I'm seeing about the Eternals. It's like 50% thought it's great and 50% did not like it at all. And there's very few people that are like, it was okay. It's either I thought it was fantastic or I thought it sucked.
Can you break it down? Are any of these people you know? I'm curious, can you break it down by political lines?
I would probably say that's fair.
Because I've been getting some vibes and some of the things I read, and that's why I think a lot that's divide is there.
See, but that caused me, that in a weird way, that causes me to want to see it more. right? Like, I have some people that have said, so the only other vibes I've gotten was the scene in Endgame where all of the
women,
female Avengers,
which wasn't necessary
it wasn't
because they all were whipping butt on their own. Why
Yeah.
do you? I mean, I
get why you.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that was it necessary? No. Did it help the movie? Not really. But it's not something that I'm like. There were people who were like angry that it was included. I'm like, it didn't detract from the movie. It just didn't help it.
Harley in the next break.
All right, the Rob Brown Show rolling on. It is ESPN Upstate. We have got an interesting situation developing out of what a hell of a season the Raiders are having, huh? The Raiders are releasing cornerback Damon Arnett per Tom Pelissero of the NFL Net. The 2020 first round pick has had some disciplinary issues in Vegas already this year. But apparently posted a video to TikTok where he is wielding a gun and not just a gun, but like a decked out. I can't see the type of gun.
I don't know what it is. I mean, it almost looks like new age to the point where it's like a sci-fi replica.
It's
or
a video
something.
game gun.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what it looks like.
The understanding we are seeing right now, it was a real gun. Is what is being reported. I have watched the video of Damon Arnett. It appears to be. They don't actually ever show the gun in question. It is a one-handed SMG of some type. I don't know what type it is, and I'm not a big SMG guy.
And what's all the extra? I mean, all that stuff that it seems like it would weight it down.
There is attached to the gun. There is a foregrip, which is a secondary grip that your offhand would use to stabilize the gun. The two round things off the bottom are a drum magazine, which increases the capacity of the gun, the amount of ammunition it can carry. He's also got on the right-hand side of it, well, the left hand holding it, the right-hand side looking at the video, it's a tack flashlight. So that's a really bright flashlight that can be used either to illuminate or usually they also have a strobe pattern to disorient the person that you're aimed at. And on top of that is a laser sight. So it's going to have a laser on top.
So there's no chance this is just a video game replica and not a real gun.
I don't know if it is. I mean, it could be a replica gun that looks like a real gun, but it damn sure looks like a real gun. And all of those are tactical additions to the gun.
And
No, I mean, I've been around guns my whole life. I grew up in the South, baby.
Dude, I
trust me, I am a gun owner. I am not, contrary to what a lot of people about me believe, I am not anti-gun. I own a handful of them. I am a gun guy that will shoot. Now,
a handful.
I don't think I've reached arsenal, but
Yeah.
A couple of rifles, a shotgun, and a pistol, all in the rifle.
I just want to say, you're not. I wasn't trying to discredit your ability to own or whatever.
Damon Arnett also on that TikTok posted a screenshot of a fan, I don't know, per individual who he says threatened him. He said the dude was saying he was soft. He said, drop your addy or stop talking blank. The guy dropped his address. He said, I'm in Vegas, slide and get tagged. Arnett responded with, that bleep say 5 miles away. Stay woke, young'un. The dude says, pull up right now. He said, about to be in your hood, something like that. And they went back and forth. He posted the video of him holding a gun and threatening this guy. And here's the thing. Arnett absolutely has a case to go to the cops and go, hey, this guy's threatening me, etc. I'm going to go ahead and warn all you youngins out there in advance listening to Uncle Rob. Take my advice on this. The correct response is never, ever, 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 ever to go online and post a video of you threatening a dude with a full Call of Duty loadout as if you're about to roll up to the hood and get into a shot fight with him. Don't do it. Go to the cops. They'll take care of the problem. That's the point. That's why they're there.
Yeah,
this is not the response. And now Damon Arnett is unemployed.
He had proof that that dude was threatening him and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't need all that back and forth.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's, street cred and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that was dumb. Now, all that money that you had to buy said gun, you ain't got that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, somebody else will do the old, we think everybody gets a second chance routine, but this is a really, 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 really good way to ensure that you put your career on the back burner for a very long time. For a very long time. All right. Take a break. Twitter trending topics. We come back on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate. Harley Davidson of Greenville wants to get you outfitted and riding on the on the back of a piece of Americana, man. Listen, so this weekend I was sitting around at a restaurant watching a little football, and I got a conversation with another guy who says, "Hey, you want to ride? Don't you? You ride motorcycles?" I said, "Yeah." We started talking about it, and another guy chimed in and said, "I'm not from here, but I visit here every year now." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah. I rode the Blue Ridge Parkway a couple of years ago, and now it's way up on my list. I come up here with a motorcycle every year around the time the leaves are changing." You guys, we live in one of the best motorcycle riding places in America. People come from literally the rest of the country just to ride the roads that are a couple of minutes down the line. And there's no better way to experience that than on the back of a Harley Davidson from Harley Davidson of Greenville. And right now is a better time than ever to go see my friends at Harley of Greenville and jump on the back, because not only do they have an incredibly beautiful selection of 2021 Harleys in stock, and the 2022s are on the way with the new paint jobs, the new finishes, all the bells and whistles, but they've got the largest pre-owned inventory in the upstate. So if you're a rider and you like I do, the big hogs, if you're a cruiser and you want a little cafe runner to go up and down downtown, they have got you covered better than anybody else in the upstate. But you need to go see them right now. They're at 30 Chrome Drive in Greenville, or you can see the entire inventory online at upstateharley.com, upstateharley.com. Check them out, and trust me, Harley Davidson of Greenville is your one-stop shop to live the Harley Davidson life. Once you get into it, you will see exactly what I mean. Go see your friends at Harley Davidson of Greenville.
And will not reliably detect a fever that might need COVID. Be sure to seek medical advice at the first sign of fever. Learn more at exigent.com.
Can you pick winners? Well, then you can win cash. It's that simple. Oh, that was horrible.
Dude, falling apart today. There it is. You're like 2 for 8 on the day, man. Dan Rappaport says there were troubling off the field signs everywhere for Raiders first rounder Damon Arnett. For instance, in his first year in the NFL, Arnett crashed 4 rental cars within a month. How do you do that?
How do you do that and not get hurt? Because
here's the Raiders 2020 draft class. You ready? Round 1, Henry Ruggs in prison. Round 1, Damon Arnett cut. Round 3, Lynn Bowden, 0 snaps traded. Round 3, Brian Edwards, who is a starting wide receiver. Round 3, Tanner Moose, cut, 0 snaps. Round 4, John Simpson, 3rd string backup. Round 4, Amik Robertson, benched.
Well, at least the Gamecock player and the and the Clemson player aren't in trouble. Only thing that I have trouble with when the time changes is my eating patterns. I get hungry earlier, and it's like, no, it's not time yet.
My biggest problem with the time change is the time change. Just as a whole. Why are we still doing it in America in 2021?
Farmers, man.
No, they don't. No. The farmers can go like this and change their clocks, and the rest of us can move on. No disrespect to farmers, but I don't need it to be dark at 5:15 p.m. because farmers.
No one knows why it's still that way. It just is. Because the powers that be have decided not to change it. Oopsie. All right, time for Twitter trending top.
I suspect Cam's going to be in a uniform, not this week, but next. All right, there's a lot going on around the league. I suspect he could be. In fact, I'm kind of at the point. Maybe this is just me. I'm kind of hoping the Saints are on the phone with Cam Newton like soon. Granted, this weekend was not Trevor Simeon's fault. I mean, our wide receivers just could not catch the football, but Cam's going to be in a jersey maybe by next weekend.
All right, the next thing that's trending is Disney Plus.
No idea why it's trending.
All right, Disney Plus is trending because on November 12th, they are releasing 13 Marvel movies in IMAX ratio.
Really?
And one of those movies is Shang-Chi.
Well, I guess I'll just hang on now.
Yeah, that's it.
I am absolutely tired of being dogged by our buddy Steven in the Facebook chat for not having seen it yet. So I texted the lady friend earlier and I said, Venom this afternoon. Are you coming with me or not? And she's like, yeah, I'll do it. So going to see Venom after work today so y'all can get off me. I'm down, man. This isn't going to impact you if you don't have a bigger TV, but if you're like me and you decide one of the few investments you need to spend money in your life is a big screen TV, this is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if I can see the difference on the big TV, and yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out.
You just upgraded recently.
Yes, I did.
Welcome to the world of high definition entertainment.
Last TV wasn't that small, but this one's considerably bigger. That's true.
There you go. All right, that's it for us. Mark Ryan is up next alongside Diesel for Offsides. I'm sure there will be some blistering hot Florida Gator takes for your enjoyment. The Gamecocks with a doozy on Saturday. We're back tomorrow to do it all over again. We'll try harder, we promise, on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate. Later, brother. See you guys tomorrow, stream. Hasta luego, muchachos.